have you been involved with Spanish dance?
All my life, practically. I started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. So.
And why did you get involved? Was it a cultural thing, or because you just loved it?
Well, I think I saw it when I was very young, and there were some free classes being offered at a community center, and that's how I first began. But then throughout my teen years, I just got more involved with it and just enjoyed it more and more. And
did you study in Canada, or did you study
No, in the States. I began studying in the States, in Texas and California. And then I went to New York also to study, and I worked in. By the time I went to Spain, I was already working as a professional dancer.
What do you need to become a professional Spanish dancer? What was it that you have that maybe somebody else doesn't have?
Well, I think primarily what you need is a lot of stick-to-itness. It takes a lot of coordination, and the kind of coordination that we don't normally use in everyday life. A lot of articulation of the feet because of the footwork, different articulations with the arms and hands. They go very opposite to each other many times. And besides that, from the body, the technical part, there's also the understanding that you must acquire about the different rhythms and how you work within those rhythms.
How long does it take for maybe an average person to learn this dance fluently?
Well, it's something I myself have been dancing for over 30 years, and I feel that I'm still on a journey of learning. So it's not something that you can say, well, now I know it. No, you don't ever know everything, because it's a living art form, and there's always innovations happening and always things happening within flamenco that we're always behind in what we learn.
Do you believe the style of dance is becoming more popular in the
Americas?
I
believe so, because I think my own point of view is that people are looking for something that reaches more emotionally than society allows us to have normally.
Can you tell us about starting your own business as a dance school? How was that? Was it difficult?
I actually fell into it. I came to Canada to perform at a tablao, a Spanish restaurant specializing in flamenco, and I remained here because I met my husband here and I married here. So through my presentations, I was getting asked very often to choreograph or to make some classes for people that were interested. People already dancing flamenco here, but they wanted to get more advanced in that. And that's how the school started, that I set up a few classes for the people that were interested, and then gradually started a complete program for beginners, beginner adults, children. We start them up at 5 years old and such.
Can you tell me about the Old Road show and other gigs that you
Yes. Well, the Old Road's New World presentation was a collaboration between a Kathak dancer, which is from northern India, and myself, a flamenco dancer. Besides the Kathak musicians and flamenco musicians, because of a mutual shared history, which the flamenco people from the south of Spain have with the people who migrated from northern India and eventually settled in southern Spain. And that was what Old Road's New World was. It was a collaboration between Joanna Das, the Kathak dancer who resides here in Toronto, and myself. And it was quite a beautiful and moving work for me to be able to do, because it brought me in touch with different elements and ancient elements of the form that I use.
Maybe you can. So, do you make a living from your dance studio, and has it been easy doing that?
It's never easy. The arts aren't very well paid, but I enjoy it. So, in that sense, it balances out. It's not easy, but and there's many long hours and hard work, a lot of physical work. But I enjoy teaching. I enjoy teaching people who've never seen it before and just seeing how they get amazed and, by their own talents that they didn't know they had.
What's a typical routine day running a studio?
Well, I begin by, first of all, answering all the messages on the machine, inquiries about classes, perhaps presentations, and stuff like that. I begin classes, a children's class, for example, at 4:30 in the afternoon. This is our weekdays. Then I take about 3 other adult classes ranging from beginner level to elementary, intermediate, and advanced levels.
What type of people are attracted to this style of dance? Like, what type of people do you mainly?
I think it's all ages, primarily women. I don't know why, because it's such a strong dance for men, and I wish more men would get interested in pursuing it. But that's true of any dance form. There are very seldom many men involved. But I think people that have a need or inquietude. This is like something that's an unquietness within themselves, to explore something deeper within themselves. And this is what flamenco allows, because it's a very personal dance. It's a very personal expression. So I think this is the kind. And some people just do it because they love the music, and and it's just more of an expression of a happy side of themselves. Other people do it because they can get more in touch with the deeper feelings.
Mm-hmm. So once you learn flamenco, can you go anywhere in Toronto, like nightclubs or bars? I know there's some Spanish clubs now.
There's a few tapas bars where yes, certainly not the deeper dances that we do, because of course even that I prefer to do them by myself, in a room by myself. But the lighter dances, the rumbas and the sevillanas and things like that, there are many tapas bars that cater to that.
Do you get a lot of couples coming in to learn?
A few. I get a lot of mother and daughters, and a few husband and wives, and girlfriend and boyfriends, but primarily single individuals.
Is there some type of history to flamenco dancing that you might be able to explain?
Well, flamenco dance is a dance form from the southern region of Spain. Andalusia is the name of that region, and it is. In Andalusia, many races conquered that area throughout the centuries, and there have been many mixtures of traditions from those different peoples that settled in that area. And so it was the combination of the existing folk traditions and music and singing, and what the gypsies, who, as I said before, migrated from northern India and even from Egypt, and those cultures just all blended together to make this art form.
Well, you have a dance troupe, right?
Yes.
Do you want to explain what
Yes,
your dance troupe does?
the dance company is a professional dance company. We present yearly concerts. Occasionally, it's twice a year. We just did one in September called Duende, which is quite successful. And we'd like to present flamenco in all its ranges, from the very pure form to the very innovative modern style which is danced today in Spain. Not only that, but we also bring in guest dancers and performers, teachers, singers and guitarists, authentic flamenco singers, which are very rare to find in Canada, so we usually have to bring them in from Spain. And we present not only flamenco, but Spanish classical dance, and we're looking to incorporate in our next concert also some regional dancing.
Getting back to your studio again, how do you mainly attract your students to come to your studio? Is it through your performances, or do you go out and market yourself? How do you go about doing that?
Yes, some of it is from the performances. People, perhaps never having seen it before, get very interested and intrigued by the dance form. and they contact the studio. Other times I do put out ads in Now and iWeekly during the times when we're going to be starting up new beginner classes, and that's where the majority of the people. But then I have been here for 15 years, so it's an established school. The school has been in operation since 1982, and I have qualified teachers. We bring in guest teachers from Spain also, and when we do those kinds of workshops, I have people coming from far away as Calgary and Winnipeg, Montreal, and such, because we do bring in the best teachers that are available to come in.
How do you feel about the success or the turnout of your studio or your company?
Oh, I'm very pleased with it. I'm very pleased with it. Also because I not only in the numbers, but because of the kind of people and the nurturing that this kind of dance gives them. It's as you may have seen in the class, when a person accomplishes a very difficult passage in perhaps it's a step or an arm movement, and that satisfaction from accomplishment just translates into other areas of their lives.
I've already asked that.
Oh, we have to, how long to master?
Well, how long does it take to master Spanish dance? I already asked you that.
Ask the question. Oh, have we already asked
Yeah,
that?
I've already asked it when you went away. And
Any formal accreditation?
is there any formal accreditation?
No.
No?
No. No, as it is in Spain, although more there have been more certifications, if you would, from the established government schools. There have been some accreditations, but in flamenco, it's an art form that's handed down through families. Generally, if a person is a dancer, it's because his parents were dancers, or in the art, they were either singers or guitarists or other dancers. And so it's a form that is in oral tradition. Not much is written down except for much speculation. There's nothing concrete. Yeah. In flamenco, it's very much the style of your teacher. So this is the tradition of instruction that we learn from our teachers, and mainly in an oral form. Nothing very technical, except that although being in a nation such as Canada, where the schooling is very different, this tradition of oral history is not very common. So I've adjusted some of my technique of teaching to the Canadian mindset, if you will, of how people learn. But in flamenco, you learn by osmosis. You learn by just being amongst other dancers, being amongst the singers, the guitarists, and watching other dancers and watching your teacher. Not that your teacher will explain specifically how you must do something, but they'll say, give me more spin on this turn, or make this posture more grand, or make this, it's not a very technical, but it's very emotional.